Hello, friends. Well, today I've chosen as my virtual background the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. Um, of course, I'm not in San Francisco now, I'm in Japan, but as a matter of fact, I am quite close to a red suspension bridge, a bit smaller than this one. If you want to see it, you can find it in the banner photograph at the top of my YouTube channel. That's the view I get from where I live, and the suspension bridge is on the right as you look at the photograph. Uh, it's a bridge between Wakamatsu and Tobata wards. Okay, let's get on with what I want to talk about today, which is just a follow-up on Sri Lanka, a travelogue with family history. Today I want to talk about the actual photographs which are contained here in this book. And by the way, this is the hardcover version, just to show it really does exist. And this is the first one I received in December last year. And the photos do look a bit better in this one because they are sort of glossy ones. Anyway, but you don't, of course, have to buy them, especially not when I'm introducing the whole book in this fashion. All right, good. So first of all, I want to share my screen there. So that's me at Tabata Station, my local station in Kee-tah-kew-shoo City, Japan, and there's a full-length mirror there, and I tend to use that when I'm going on a long journey, and so just to show that I'm setting off. It's kind of a tradition with me. Good. So next, yeah, I got to Fukuoka, which is about an hour, well, a bit more than an hour away by train and subway or underground. I had some time to just watch rugby on my old Mac Airbook, MacBook Air, sorry, and eat some tonkotsu ramen, which is a Fukuoka specialty. It was almost 4 hours. So, I'm hoping to get this MacBook Air fixed this week because somehow it's not working properly at the moment. Okay, I downloaded a paper about Sir Ivor Jennings, who I'll talk about later, and I printed it out. So I was reading that, much to the surprise of Michael Watson, my friend, who is, I think, the grandson or one of the grandsons of Sir Ivor. This is the Tokyo International Air Terminal, which I rather liked. Very, very pleasant place to be for a couple of hours. So I got up there and then flew from Haneda, down to Bangkok. This is Bangkok International Airport, where I arrived at 5 a.m. And there was quite a good connecting flight on to Sri Lanka, which I boarded after. Yes, I had to buy some more insect repellent because the Thai airport security check removed my insect repellent, which was over 100 milliliters, unfortunately. So, fortunately, there was a Boots chemist, which was good old British chemist there in the airport. I don't think I actually needed the insect repellent in the end throughout my stay in Sri Lanka. So I drank some coconut water. I bought some durian candy, which tasted okay, but caused a tooth filling to drop out later. Well, the candy sort of pulled out the tooth filling. Uh, Here is my first sight of Sri Lanka. Very green from all the rain, and it's lovely, lovely images. I'm very excited at this point, I was. Yeah, here's Bandaranaike International Airport, passport and visa check on arrival. So I got that all sorted. Waiting for my taxi. The sign used my second name. It was for Charles Ruxton, which, considering that my grandfather, who lived many years in Sri Lanka, was called Charles, I thought was quite interesting. It's almost a fateful thing. So I was taken by taxi to the Merino Beach Hotel, which is very pleasant, as you can see. There was a good view of the Indian Ocean from the balcony. There's a rooftop swimming pool. There's a rooftop garden bar. Cricket was going on at the time. Of course, it's very popular in Sri Lanka. The Asia Cup 2023. Roar for our Lions. This is the lobby of the hotel. It's a four-star hotel. Um, and then I went to Galle Hotel, which is a very famous old hotel in Colombo, built in the 1860s, I think, by the British. It's more imposing than most British hotels, that's for sure. um, Lots of portraits of famous people who've stayed there. That's one of the features of the hotel. With the actor Sir Alec Guinness and the Japanese Crown Prince, later Emperor Showa, who visited in 1921. He also visited Cambridge in 1921. He went to Britain. He was on his way to Britain when he stayed here. The reason I know that is I have a photo in one of my other books which shows him at Cambridge University Library, as it then was. There are many portraits of famous guests, including Che Guevara. This is the Duke of Edinburgh, the late Duke of Edinburgh's first car, which I'd seen was on a YouTube video. So I was looking forward to seeing that. And sure enough, there it was. Hotel crockery, various other small photos of the hotel, the lobby, and so on. These are my cousins, Sri Lankan cousins. The story is explained in the previous video, so I won't go into it now. But they gave me a very, very pleasant, lovely curry in the hotel. And here I am with Mervyn. We both seem to have high foreheads. Yeah, a group photo of the four of us. And then they very kindly, it was raining very hard, but they took me by car to the Scots Kirk in Colombo, where many Ruxtons, well, several Ruxtons and Allens were married, as confirmed in the register. The altar and pulpit. So I guess this is a Presbyterian church, presumably. And I received some lovely presents, and I also gave a Japanese furoshiki, a box of chocolates, and some banana and strawberry sweets bought at Haneda Air Terminal, Tokyo International Air Terminal. All right, next day the weather was bad. There was heavy rain. I left an enthusiastic note about how I'd enjoyed the hotel. Your hotel is the best in Colombo, which I felt it was. Well, I felt it was a really good one, probably worth 5 stars, not 4, but I don't know. That's my smart little suitcase in the hotel lobby. This is the gold-colored BMW which picked me up from the hotel. This was the rain when we were leaving Colombo. Pretty heavy. And so we stopped at Cashew Village, Kaju Gama, and I bought some deviled cashew nuts. And here's the shop where I bought them. This is from Google Maps, so it shows where we were on the road to Kandy, between Kandy and Colombo, at a place called Cashew, on the A1 highway. Very British road names. So I suppose A1 is the most important road because it's between Colombo and Kandy. Steering problem due to the rain. Yeah, that's what came up on the screen there. Drive moderately, have the problem checked. So we had about 2 hours of not doing very much in this village. I noted villagers unblocking a drain, or rather one villager with an audience. The National Heritage Replica Centre sounds very grand, but anyway, it was closed. Yeah, there's a few shots. The car looks great, but it was immobile. How many BMWs do you need to go from Colombo to Kandy? 2 or maybe 3 if you want to be sure. Well, yeah. And then we got another BMW, same type and color, and we had no trouble after that. Mini pineapple at Susantha Spice and Herbal Garden. Mini pineapple, yeah. And these the Royal Botanic Gardens at Peradeniya, Kandy. This is one reason I didn't want to go by train from Colombo to Kandy, because I didn't want to miss this, which is quite a wonderful botanic gardens. And Ernest Sato, in his diary, recorded visiting here, so I felt I owed it to him as much as anybody to go here. The Royal Botanic Gardens at Peradeniya are about 5 kilometers west of Kandy. They date back to 1371, but the groundwork was laid by Alexander Moon in 1821, who grew coffee and cinnamon plants. It was formally established in 1843 with plants from Kew Gardens in London and local places, and is expanded by George Gardner, 1844 to 49. On Gardner's death, George Henry Kendrick Thwaites became superintendent from 1849 to 79. He was succeeded by Henry Trimen, whom Sato met in 1887. I've quoted his diary entry in a footnote above. He served until 1895, and there's a Wikipedia page about the gardens. Here's a pamphlet. Yeah, there's a price differential. Foreigners pay more, which I think is not unreasonable, to access the park than locals do. And at first I got a little bit lost, as you do. And there's an agave collection with a trilingual sign there in Sinhala, Tamil, and English. Giant bamboo, quite impressive. Sign with regrettable graffiti, on the left side there. Students' garden, that was quite interesting. About 250,000 flowering plant species belonging to nearly 400 families have been recorded on Earth. There are about 216 plant families recorded in Sri Lanka. The number of native species is about 3,700. This student's garden houses more than 350 species belonging to 85 plant families cultivated according to their families. Actually, I've just had a communication, or had some email communication with a researcher who is working at the Singapore Botanic Gardens, and he was quite interested in Ernest Sato as a botanist. Although Sato was, as he said, he wrote to a friend, Frederick Dickens, he said he was not a pure botanist. He was mainly trying to set up establish a dictionary with the names of the native plants correctly recorded in it. So, but he was quite interested in botany, and he obviously visited this place as well. Clematis zeylanica ranunculaceae, I'm not sure if that's the right pronunciation. Very long name. From Sri Lanka, India, and Malaya on the left. And then cycads are ancient groups of plants that flourished in the Mesozoic era. All of these signs are, I think, trilingual. Randothalu Loxococcus rupicola aricaceae, maybe. Sri Lanka only. A grass collection. What else have we got? Bamboos. Ernest Sato was an expert on these. He wrote The Cultivation of Bamboos in Japan in the Transactions of the Asiatic Society of Japan in 1899. Volume 27, Part 3. The lake. The gardens are surrounded on three sides by a river, the longest river in Sri Lanka, whose name will come to me in a minute. Red flame ivy from Indonesia, Hemographis colorata. Pinto peanut from Brazil. There we are. The Mahaweli River is the longest in Sri Lanka. It surrounds the garden on three sides. It's a little bit muddy by the look of it. Giant Java fig tree in the middle of the Great Lawn. Yes, quite interesting that. Quite an impressive tree. School party. Children wear white uniforms, which I think is very lovely, actually. The innocence of youth expressed in white. A mahogany tree from South America. a large and fast-growing tree, mainly grown as a shade and ornamental tree, introduced to Sri Lanka in the 1840s, most suited for a dry climate. The long winged seeds are brown and dispersed by the wind. The timber is very fine and used in cabinet work and boat making. Okay, so the South American trees did come here. Mother monkey climbs tree with baby. That was my first sighting of a monkey, I think, in Sri Lanka. So that quite excited me. Dr. George Thwaites Monument, superintendent, from 1849 to 79. The museum would have been fascinating, but unfortunately it was being repaired, so it was a shame that I couldn't go in there. I was hoping to go in there. Cabbage Palm Tree Avenue. The trees are about 50 feet tall, very tall. A conservatory, a photo shoot was happening next to the conservatory, and there's inside the conservatory. Fruit collection. Some indigenous fruits as well as those introduced into Ceylon or Sri Lanka by the Royal Botanic Gardens. Left to right, mangosteen, pineapple, mango, and so on. Durian, rambutan, santol, pomegranate, granadilla, Brazil cherry, roselle, lovi, star apple, miracle fruit, Indian gooseberry, bale fruit, yellow mangosteen, Ceylon gooseberry, lychee, Indian jujube, sapdilla, salak, and Davidson's plum, Java plum, island lychee, mammy apple, avocado, and bully tree. Well, well. All those different fruits. They do make for wonderful breakfasts, I have to say, to have all these exotic fruits. Rose garden, orchid house. Yes. So there was a lot to see here. And if you really knew what you would do about plants, I think this would be quite paradise, really. Blue stem joint fir from Central Asia, Mongolia, and North China. Main entrance to Royal Botanical Gardens, Peradeniya, photographed as I left. And then we went on to the university again. If I hadn't hired a car, I don't think I could have got here in the short time available, because I don't think the train goes near here. University of Peradeniya campus sports ground. I think there is a station not too far, but it might have been involved hiring a tuk-tuk or something. There's a roundabout. Very British. See the university's homepage. By the way, our university, Kyushu Institute of Technology in Japan, also has a roundabout, and I think that's fairly rare in Japan. In Britain, roundabouts are very common. Okay, so this is Ivor Jennings, statue of. There is not the slightest doubt that if the university is worthy of its location, it will be one of the finest small universities in the world, is what he wrote in The Road to Peradeniya, page 183. So he had high hopes for it. This is front of the plinth in Sinhala, the English version. Like the moon that dispels the darkness of night, I dispel the darkness of ignorance. I expose the young men and women of this institution to universal knowledge without reservation. How wonderful. And the Tamil version, which I can't read, I'm afraid. Hilda Obeyesekera Hall, named after a benefactor. And then I just walked around the university a bit, approached the Senate House. I wonder if Michael Watson has seen these, because his grandfather is involved. So a grand and imposing entrance to the administration buildings. And here, on the 20th of April, 1954, in the presence of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, the university buildings in Peradeniya were declared by His Royal Highness the Duke of Edinburgh, Knight of the Garter, to be more open than usual. Prince Philip's sense of humor is evident here. The university had already been open for some years. So he was not declaring them open, but more open than usual. Very funny. The mission of the university is to contribute to national, regional, and global society through the pursuit of education, learning, and research, and the dissemination of knowledge at the highest international levels of excellence. And this is to be contrasted with the vision of the university, which is to provide a uniquely transformative experience for its students, staff, and partners, whilst serving the public through producing and implementing innovative research and outreach programs that are anchored in its founding values and principles. Very good. I imagine Sir Ivor Jennings devised both of those or wrote both of those. This is part of the administration block, Internal Audit Division, National Audit Sub-Office. There was nobody around, actually, so I just wandered in and out. Legal and Documentation Division. And that's, I don't know what that is. Could that be the Senate House or something? I'm not sure. Perhaps if you know, could you tell me in the comments? Time for bed, said Zebedee. Well, that's from the Magic Roundabout. People of a certain age in Britain will know that. My lovely room at the Hotel Cassandra, Kandy. Yeah, very nice. And the view from the balcony is very nice. Lovely. Lots of trees. Lovely area. Panorama from the hotel. And then I went down to get my supper. View of Kandy at night from near the hotel, just 250 meters walk away. So you can see the lake there. And lion beer, which I'm very fond of, actually. I order it quite a lot in Japan these days. Dinner was nasi goreng at Okray restaurant, accompanied by a local brew. Okray seems to be a chain of restaurants. So there's your nasi goreng. I got better views on the way back to the hotel. Kandy almost seems European with its central lake. Yes, indeed. Or Swiss or something. Lucerne, Lake Lucerne, or whatever. A glorious view of the precious gem of Kandy with bright lights reflected in the lake. Yes, lovely. Very lovely. Day 3, Kandy to Dambulla and Sigiriya, Monday, September the 4th. Good morning, Kandy. And breakfast. Ceylon tea, no milk for me. I wouldn't want to dilute the taste of the tea itself in any way. Very nice, lovely breakfast with waffles. And I was probably the only guest, I think, at the time. Anyway, this is the Daihatsu Tanto K car, which I mentioned in the previous video. It's got very large windows, very good for sightseeing. Rice fields south of Matale en route to Dambulla from Kandy. So a little bit similar, obviously, because it's rice, it's almost the same as Japanese rice fields. Perhaps the rice is a bit different, though. This is the driver, Indica, who is very good to me for the day. This is a Hindu temple named Muthumariamman. I checked that in Google Maps afterwards. Oh, and it's on Wikipedia. And so I think this is the first time I've ever been inside a Hindu temple, and I was most impressed. You have to take your shoes off. But there's all kinds of little alcoves and altars. Elephant gods are quite, or Ganesh, I think it is it? Very popular. Oh, look at all these. Very nice, very interesting. Very decorative and very colorful, I have to say. Yeah, very beautiful. And this is the outside. Very intricate and complicated designs here. And then on to Dambulla cave temples. Oh yes, Dambulla is correctly spelled with 2 L's. I think I had just 1 L on the previous page. Scenery on the way up to the cave temples. Had to walk up to them. And here's the entrance to them, to the temples, cave temples. And so reclining Buddha inside the cave temple. And there are several temples. It's not all just one temple. It's about 7, I think. And really, the photographs tend to speak for themselves unless you're an expert, which I am not. I could probably say more if I was, but Anyway, let's just scroll through. Very lovely. And a national monument of importance. Yeah, very lovely indeed. Ah, and there are lots of monkeys outside. Scavengers. Back to the Daihatsu Tanto down the hill. Note the large front windscreen, which is very good for sightseeing. A stupa, they're called. Um, and here is a very large building with a very large Buddha behind it. Uh, Apparently, this is not related, not connected to the cave temples. It used to be, but there was some falling out between the people who own this particular uh, facility and the people who own the cave temples. So I don't know. So a tuk-tuk, uh, and I was even invited to drive it, which was I managed a few yards, I think, and then lunch in a field under a sort of awning. There it was very lovely, very mild curry. Mild because not all tourists can take hot curry. I'm quite good with hot curry, but um, anyway, there am I attempting to drive the tuk-tuk and enjoying it, but and then we went on to Sigiriya on a dirt road, the World Heritage City of Sigiriya. Uh, there's a moat and various buildings no longer there, but bathing pool for the king's 500 concubines. 500. Extraordinary. And there was a crocodile in the bathing pool. Um, I'm not sure the 500 concubines would have enjoyed that very much had they been there. Okay, this is the fortress as seen, rock fortress as seen from afar. Imposing. You get a bit closer. Yeah. And what have we got here? Fountain Garden. Oh yes. And then you sort of go through this aperture here to to go up, climb up, and there are lion's claws. There's a panorama. This was my guide, who was very good actually. I probably should have given him a bigger tip, but it was the first day and I wasn't quite sure how much to give. Yeah, okay, so very beautiful views, well, lovely, stunning 360-degree views at the top. Um, and then coming back down, uh, Kandy Lake. Oh, yes. Okay, so we then drove back to Kandy, and this is the lake. Uh, Culture shows, song, dance, and fire eating. Well, I saw part of that. I didn't see all of it, but yeah, it was fun. Final curtain and fire eating. And yes, the lake once more. And then the Temple of the Tooth at dusk. There's a Japanese bell presented to the temple. A stuffed elephant or tusker named Raja. The Maligawa tusker. Tusker seems to be a Sri Lankan name for an elephant. Um, or Sri Lankan English, if you will, I suppose. Um, the rugby team is called the Tuskers, I think. The national rugby team. Yes, all this is very impressive in the Temple of the Tooth. The British came to the Temple of the Tooth drawn by its symbolic power. I think that's Buddha's tooth, isn't it? Uh, and actually, I think this is where the tooth is kept. There's a long queue. Yeah, and I was able to just about get a photograph. The tooth is inside the golden casket. Pilgrims and curious tourists file past. No closer photograph than this is allowed. Okay. Uh, Kandy to Ella by train. Tuesday, September the 5th. Last morning in Kandy at the hotel. I will miss the breakfasts. They were very good. Tuk-tuk ride to the station. Outstanding, weaving through heavy rush hour traffic. He really was good, so I had to tip him for that. Here's the wonderful Kandy station. Sort of, what's that? Art Nouveau style, is it? I'm not sure, but it's a very interesting building. Rush hour commuters at Kandy station. Well, what passes for rush hour in Kandy anyway? Being the second city of Sri Lanka and formerly the capital. Okay, so the platforms are rather classic, rather British influenced, I feel. And a restroom for clergy, quaint. And there are dogs everywhere. They're almost all the same breed and quite docile, as far as I could tell. First class restroom, gents. And okay, so I waited a while here for the train. I had my lunch, my backpack, my suitcase, and I was ready to go. And here comes the 8:50 a.m. from Colombo, a few minutes late. Chinese train. Lunch before it temporarily disappeared. It disappeared because somebody turned the seat round, and so it was facing. It's possible to turn the seat round in these trains, so I lost sight of it for a while. It was comfortable in first class, air conditioned, heavy rain. Finger temporarily covered after it was caught in toilet door. Yes, I sort of squealed a bit. If you can hear some drumming or pounding of cymbals or something, that's our local festival going on, or the practice for it. They're very keen, and it's going to happen this weekend. So the more practice they can do, the better. Tea factory in the mist. This is a Tabata Gion festival, by the way. This rhythm. Can you hear that? I have no idea if you can hear that through this microphone. Trilingual station sign. Roselle station. And then just photographs of the wonderful trip from Kandy to Ella. Hopton station. Tea bushes, actually trees, but never allowed to grow up high. I like that photo. That's a good one. Yeah, all of these. And then chocolate cream. Another tea estate there. Oh yes, traveling on the footboard is unsafe. It's not expressly forbidden, but you have been warned. People do it all the time. Excuse me. Great Western. So I was on the footboard here, but the train was stationary, so no worries about that. I changed the bandage. First class carriage in the Chinese built train. And on Google Maps, we were about halfway between Kandy and Ella at this stage. Yes, you can see Ella there, as well as Kandy. Ambiwela station. I love the fact they keep all these plants in the station like this. It makes it really pleasant. Are these allotments? I couldn't tell, but maybe they are. Yes, fairly classic railway equipment on for changing the points and so on. Yeah, just sights and scenes I managed to get on the way to Ella. Impenetrable mist, yes, it was quite high up, so Idalgashinna and Haputale and can't read the other one. Ohia, is it? Sorry. Yeah, there's an observation saloon in some of the trains. Here is Haputale, not far from the vantage point of Lipton's seat, named after Sir Thomas Lipton, the tea man. Gull, we reached Gull, which was Ella Station. And Sam kindly helped me with first aid for my finger. He was guiding two Spanish doctors from the Canary Islands. Ella Station forecourt. I was told to wait near the ATM for the guest house car. And here's the first view from my room at Royal Mount Ella Guest House, which was a gem, actually. Beautiful place. This is my room. And very, very nice owner too. Welcome tea with bananas. Tea and bananas seem to be quite popular. Private kitchen, which I didn't need. Walked from the guest house to Ella via the railway. Took 40 minutes. A train coming, and there was a dog right next to the line, but seemed quite unconcerned. But it was not a problem to walk on the railway lines because there are so few trains. This is the view from the railway line, and there was a cow tethered near the line. I met a postman, all on the way to Ella. A monkey or family of monkeys on the telegraph lines. And we're reaching Ella now, the main part of it. European food, especially Italian, is readily available. Asia Cup cricket on TV, Sri Lanka versus Afghanistan. Ginger tea and watala pancake, very good, at Cafe Chill in Ella. I liked Cafe Chill. A tuk-tuk ride back to the guest house, 800 rupees, 500 is the standard fare. So anyway, the advantage was I could just jump in it straight away without having to wait for example, the guest house owner would have come down to pick me up if I'd phoned him, but really, I didn't want to trouble him. Shower unit at guest house, very good. And then day 5, Ella to Hopton Group, Badulla District, Uva Province, Wednesday, September 6th. So I met my driver for the next 5 days, Mohammed Faisal, who took this photo before we set off at about 9 a.m. Birds on the roof seen from my room. That's at the hotel. And again, these are views from the Royal Mount Ella guest house. A little piece of paradise, I would say. Breakfast area. My room is on the left. There is another on the right. Yeah. And this is breakfast. An egg hopper. Milk and plain hoppers are also available. Yeah, I like the hoppers. I barely had time to read the guidebook, unfortunately. Heading to Hopton Group Estate in the Suzuki Spacia with Faisal. Had a slightly smaller windscreen, so for what that's worth. This is the Google Maps showing the distance between Ella and Hopton Group Tea Estate. And here is Hopton. Well, this was a letter I'd written to Hopton in May. Remember, I'm traveling in September. So I wrote about my grandfather and asked them if they would perhaps get in touch by email. They didn't actually, but anyway, I'm not sure. I think this may have helped. Brown's Plantations, Habugastene, Hopton Estate, Uvatenne Tea Factory, General Stores, Fuel Shed, Latex Collecting Point to the left, Office to the right. And here is the Hopton estate office, not the original estate office used by my grandfather, apparently. We waited for Sudath, the general manager, in the office. Now, I think this safe is probably from my grandfather's time, or perhaps even from before his time. A Samuel Withers and Company West Bromwich safe. Very impressive piece of kit, that is. And this filing cabinet made me laugh because my father had a similar one, and so did I in my office when I was working at Kee-tah-kew-shoo. And Sri Lankans treasure British-style trophies. Of course, there are many such trophies associated with cricket and rugby, two sports which the British left here as part of their legacy. Yeah. Sudath showed us the way to the Hopton Group bungalow on his motorbike. Yeah. Very convenient method, no doubt, of getting around. Brown's Plantations, Hopton Estate. Group manager's bungalow. Hapugastene. So we're getting there. Not quite there yet. There we are. Hooray. The bungalow at Hopton Group apparently dates from 1932. Am I going to have to let the cat out? I don't know. She seems to perhaps want to go out. Okay, so very splendid. This is how the bungalow looked when my parents visited on February 27th, 1998. Note the helpful date stamp. And here I am with Sudath. Faisal told me it was his last day as general manager after 7 years at Hopton Group. 5 years is normal, but it was extended by 2 years due to the COVID-19 problem. There we are. Quite an imposing item. The two-storied bungalow appears to reflect the importance of the estate. The billiards or pyramids room adjoins the main house. So I took as many photos as I could in the short time available. I think these doors were there was a story about them that after independence or after the house was handed over, the wife of some rather important person wanted these doors and wanted to take them to Colombo, but somehow they were saved, and she didn't get her way, which I'm rather pleased about. I'm pretty sure it's these doors. My father told my brother in an interview in 2006. Presumably, these bottles are not from Charles's time, but he was known for his generosity as Have a Dram Ruxton. That's from Two Leaves and a Bud by Carolan. Yes, they did drink quite a bit of whiskey, I think, in those days, being Scotsmen from Aberdeen. I'll just have to let the cat out just a minute. Oh, go on. Yeah, what a nuisance. Okay, never mind. Cats will be cats. Okay, fireplace in the secondary sitting room at the back of the house. The billiard or pyramids room with the table covered. This is the rules of the game of pyramids. Pyramids was with Blackpool one of the progenitor cue sports of snooker. The rules of the game of pyramids are posted on the wall of the room for reference. And the original cues are still there. And they kindly took the cover off to show me what it looked like. Made by George Wright of London and Company of London. This is the pyramids or billiards table or snooker table. Or gentlemen after dinner, I suppose. And there's a rattan pew and a scoreboard for pyramids or snooker. Fireplace in the main sitting room. The ornaments are Sudath's. I was very kindly treated to a snack lunch at short notice. Kitty is looked after by the kitchen staff. Very similar to our cat, in fact. She's called Kitty. We leave, going back down the drive in the car. So here we are going down the drive. The road to Dambulla from Hopton is a good one. And lovely sights on the way. Bank Road in Dambulla on Route A5. So this is Dambulla. Model of the loop at Demodara station in the Badulla district of Uva province between Badulla and Ella, but near to Ella. If I remember, I think my father was born in Badulla. So there's an interesting loop here. Demodara station opened to trains in 1921. The loop was the idea of the engineer, and the idea was to allow for the difference in levels while maintaining 1 to 44, the maximum allowable gradient for Sri Lanka railways. And so this station is small and not usually busy. You can see there's a dog lying on the platform there. Old Avery scales from Britain. The limited timetable, hardly any trains at all. And well, here was one with tourists. And this is, I think the train is probably coming back round in the loop there, but I can't quite see it. I have to try and make it larger. Is that, whoops, a bit too large. No, you can't see it, I think. Okay, back to, whoops. Okay. This is for the tea factory, Harpe Tea Factory tour. So you've got explanation of, and it was really wonderfully explained. There was an excellent young guide. 2 leaves and a bud, the plucked tea plant. And this is the main menu of a weighing system. Tea roller. This machine has no brain, use your own. I like that. Caution. Tea bags, or bags for tea, I should say, not tea bags. Bags for tea leaves. Yeah, various samples. A tea shop. And then the Nine Arch Bridge at Ella, which is a famous tourist attraction. I didn't manage to see a train crossing it, but frankly, it didn't bother me too much. I couldn't understand how people can sit on the parapet at all. There I am. Somebody kindly took my photo there. And wasp nests under the arches. Some tourists have been attacked, and the flying of drones is discouraged as it provokes them. There was a YouTube video I saw before going to Ella, which showed some people had been attacked. So yeah, quite serious, really. Here's a map of Ella village with all the various sites. Not a big place. Good Italian food is easily available at Ella. And then Ella to Nuwara Eliya on Thursday, September the 7th. The view from my room at Royal Mount Ella Guest House, singing, birds and children at a local school greeted the morning. The railway line is visible in this close-up. Yes, you can see it there. Yeah, I mean, that's almost, I don't know, it's like a painting, isn't it, that? Extraordinary. Here's the train coming. Breakfast. Again, beautiful, lovely breakfast. Mist. I think Scottish people would have been quite at home in this environment with all the mist and the mountains. Entrance to Galle Botanic Gardens, 16 kilometers from Nuwara Eliya. I think Faisal recommended this to me, and he was right to do so. Although it's probably smaller than the other ones, Peradenia, it certainly was worth a visit. I enjoyed it. Cryptomeria japonica, China and Japan. So, glass house. Construction of training center for cut flower producers, Hagala Botanical Garden. This is between a project between the EU and Sri Lanka. Circuit bungalow, plant sales center, fernery, medicinal garden, rock garden, Japanese garden. Ah, yes. There was this group of people who stumbled on me as a lone foreigner, and they wanted to photograph me with them. So they did that many times, and so I then photographed them with me, or I photographed them, I should say. Uh, and yeah, Camellia japonica from Japan. Let's have a look. Japanese garden. Here it is. Mm. Well, that's certainly Japanese, that lantern. Willow leaf hakea from Queensland and also from Wales for some reason. Oh, interesting. Don't know why Queensland and Wales, but there we are. Oh, sorry. And the next is the medicinal garden. I'm glad I went through it. Lake Gregory in Nuwara, Eliya. It's actually a reservoir constructed in 1873, named after a governor at the time. This is the Google Maps showing Nuwara, Eliya, and Lake Gregory. Um, Respect the environment. Yes, indeed. And there's the Suzuki Spacia. The Grand Hotel in Nuwara, Eliya. And these are all from that hotel inside. The restaurant or tea room in the hotel with high tea. English high tea, sparkling high tea, and grand high tea. And various quite interesting photographs and paintings. Sir Thomas Lipton. And there is a portrait gallery like the one at Gullface Hotel. Again, the Japanese Crown Prince, later Emperor Showa, was here, as he was at Gullface Hotel in Colombo. So he didn't just stay in Colombo, he went inland as well. Portrait gallery with Duke of Edinburgh and Queen Elizabeth, the late Queen. That's my high tea. Delicious. Very delicious. Well worth it. And this is Sir Edward Barnes, Governor of Ceylon, 1824 to 1831. He built Barnes Hall. And in 1891, the Grand Hotel was established on the property. I suppose it replaced Barnes Hall. The post office at Nuwara Eliya is one of the oldest in Sri Lanka, constructed in the Tudor Revival style by the British in 1894. So very quaint. And now Waldemar Tea Estate, Nuwara Eliya. We had to leave the car by the road and hire a tuk-tuk to get to the estate. At least that appeared to be the only way to get there. Here is the estate. Waldemar Estate Office with the manager's bungalow behind. There we are, Waldemar Office. The Waldemar Office staff kindly produced a list of superintendents since 1934, but Charles Ruxton was in the post before that, from 1921 to 1928. On the way from the office to the bungalow, inside the bungalow's front room, which was very smart, recently redecorated, the house dates from 1913, according to the very helpful chimney stack. And there am I with Wasantha, present manager. He was very welcoming. He apologized that the servants were away, so he could not give me a proper tea. I felt I was experiencing true planter's hospitality, of which Charles Ruxton would surely have approved. He spoke well of the British and their influence on Sri Lanka, which moved me. He has been to Tokyo and Hokkaido, but not yet Kyushu. He told me next time I visit, I could stay at the house, and he has repeated that offer more than once on WhatsApp, by the way. And I've said to him, if he comes to Japan, he should let me know as well. Since he's been to Tokyo and Hokkaido, but not Kyushu yet. My father, Alan Day Ruxton, was born here in 1925. No, not born in. Did I say he was born in Badulla earlier on? That was nonsense. I think it was nonsense. Yes, Badulla is near Hopton. A view of estate workers' houses on the way back to the car in the tuk-tuk, and the tuk-tuk driver who took Faisal and me on the rough path to the estate did an excellent job. And then it was time to leave Ella to go to Galle via Yala National Park, Friday, September the 8th. So checking out of the Royal Mount Ella guest house, paid in cash only cash, please. And so it was a gentle walk up Little Adams Peak. I took a wrong turning, but was rather glad I did because I got some more interesting views here. I think that's Adams Peak there in the center of that picture, is it not? Okay, and then I returned and retraced my steps and found the route to Adams Peak. Beautiful scenery. This is the right way, definitely. Mini Adams Peak and zip line. And so lots of fine views. And at the top, going back down. I'm skipping through these a bit. Zip line for those who like active tourism of the Club Med style. That's what I would describe it as. Love the names of the packages. So we've got Justice League, Lone Ranger, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And for solo warriors, you've got the Lone Ranger. Interesting. But this is the zip line, not for me, thank you. And there's the swing. So people got pushed out on the swing. The view is much better without the swing. It's my view anyway. My opinion. This is Rawana Waterfall. Another tourist spot here. Be careful, avoid bathing and do not climb the rock. Multilingual. 36 deaths are not mentioned in the English version. 36 deaths. Oh Lord, in German it says there, Tote Rate 36. And then Nombre de décès passé 36 in French. Interesting. Why is it not mentioned in English that there have been 36 deaths? I can't read this, unfortunately. Waterfall viewing platform. The car became briefly a lizard viewing platform. See the lizard there on the left. Rock carvings at Galle. Path to the carvings. First sight of them. These carvings, well, the one in the middle is the tallest one now after the ones at Bamiyan were destroyed by the Vandals, the Taliban. Don't know what they thought they were doing, but there we are. Oh, this is the admission ticket. Roadside cafe refreshment, very good. Hired a Land Rover with the driver on the way to Yala National Park in the southeast of Sri Lanka. The park's official homepage is here. View from the upper deck of the Land Rover, which is where I was sitting. Crocodile. He looks enormous. There are only 3 Land Rovers these days, many Toyotas and Mahindras. I think this was the only elephant I saw in Sri Lanka. We traveled in a pack for a while, and then the elephant came back. There were deer. This is my first ever safari. Water buffalo can be dangerous, so you have to be careful about them. We reach the sea and take a break on a totally unspoiled beach. There's the Land Rover, yes. More water buffalo wallowing together. I like this one, this deer. Quite pleased with that. Wild boar and deer grazing. Hoopoe bird. Anyway, I was tired and delighted to see my bed at the Brixia guest house in Galle after a late check-in after 9 p.m. So that was, they actually sent me a message saying, where are you? And I said, well, we're getting there. We're on our way to you, to the guest house. It was a bit late after all that time in the national park. Galle area, Brixia guest house, or Brescia maybe. Meet Sri Lankan and Italian hospitality is the catchphrase. And there's my balcony. And yeah, it was a lovely, lovely place. Time for breakfast, colazione. There's the menu. Fresh fruit juice, toasted bread, butter and jam, choice of mocha, coffee, tea, or cappuccino, choice of scrambled fried eggs or omelette, and a waffle with fresh fruit of the day. Lovely. Succo di frutta fresca del giorno, pane tostato con burro e marmellata. Scelta tra caffè della mocha, tè cappuccino. Scelta tra uova strapazzate al tegamino, omelette, pomodoro e cipolla, waffle con frutta fresca del giorno. There we are. There it is. Lovely. The front of the guest house. Stupa at the end of the street near the guest house. Ganesh, the Hindu elephant god. There was a table football machine, which reminded me of my undergraduate days at university. Very natsukashi, very bringing back memories. Sportive cockerel and free books to read. Very lovely guest house. Getting closer to the stupa of the cat. Galle Fort Clock Tower. So we went into the fort area. I go for a walk in the fort. These rather interesting buildings. I thought it was a lovely place, Galle, actually. Southlands College sounds very British. Faded glory needing care and restoration in some parts. Reverend Dr. Thomas Cook Memorial Church, 1819. I stray into a courtyard through an open door. Galle is all you need. All of this is Galle. Who has lived here and why, I wonder? Is that Art Nouveau? Yes. Island Masks of Ceylon. Morris Minor. How nice to see one of those. Classic British car. VOC is the Verenigde Oostindische Compagnie, Dutch East India Company. Of course, the Dutch were here before the British and after the Portuguese, which makes an incredible mixture of influences. Galle Fort ramparts, and the Indian Ocean is beyond the ramparts. So the VOC had a very big fort at Cape Town in South Africa, and I suppose from there they probably came directly by ship to Galle. I haven't studied that, but I imagine that would be it. So Galle would have been an important place for them. Lloyd's Naval Signal Station at Neptune Bastion. It'd be a place where they would replenish their stores and so on, I suppose. Neptune Bastion. If you want to read about that, please pause the video. I'm just going to carry on here. Interesting. Klippenberg Bastion. Again, if you want to read about it, please pause. And Model of Galle Fort. It's not as big as the one at Cape Town, I think, but still impressive. I've not seen the one at Cape Town except on YouTube, by the way. Galle International Cricket Stadium, built in 1876 as a racecourse. The first Test match was played on the 3rd of June, 1988. The clock tower with moon bastion and gallery on the left, erected in 1833. And the moon gallery, if you want to read about this, please pause the video. Dutch handing over to the British the right to Galle Fort in 1796, though the British used Colombo as their main base and paid less attention to Galle Fort, which has helped to preserve its history. Frederick North was the first governor of British Ceylon, 1798 to 1805. Dutch Reformed Church, Galle Library, All Saints Church in Galle, Anglican, under the Diocese of Colombo, was dedicated in 1871. Before the church, the court premises were here. The gallows might have been situated where the present altar now stands. What a thought. This is something about All Saints Church of Galle. Please stop the video, pause if you want to read that. I shan't read all of that. Again, pause here. I keep on scrolling. The excellent Maritime Archaeology Museum. I think that's the best museum in Galle. For my money, anyway. Clay pipes. British Gateway. A Dutch gateway, Dutch East India Company gateway. The Dutch Reformed Church Galle, 1755. Galle National Museum opened in 1986. Crockery. Dutch, Chinese and local. Masks. Chinese section with a bust of Thera Fashian. Comparison of ship used by Zheng He and that of Columbus. Columbus's ship's tiny. Goodness. Those are to scale, to the same scale. Roundabout at entrance to Galle Fort. Unawatuna Beach. Yes, that was a lovely beach. Lovely sand, and the beach is so clean. I was very impressed with that. Lunch by the beach. Calamari, curry, and lion beer. And 2 cats joined me for lunch. I cut up some calamari to small pieces for them. After lunch, Faisal drove me to the Jungle Beach, which he said was a secret beach. It was nice there too, very nice. Quite popular. Not so very secret, I suppose. And then back to the guest house. Day 9, Galle to Colombo. Second and last breakfast in Galle. Sri Lankan omelette. Arrivederci. Yes. The General Tsunami Photo Museum, commemorating the tsunami of 26 December 2004, is the place where a packed train was engulfed. And this is quite sobering. The red area is where the tsunami actually hit, all around the island, in fact. Yeah. What a sad business. Nature is beyond our control and nothing can be done against her, but we must succumb to her. Next, I went to see cinnamon, a cinnamon factory. I don't know if factory is quite the right word, but they were making cinnamon oil and so on. And a moonstone mine. Where they do pan for moonstones, panning. Trying to find the moonstones is tricky. And then they file the gems and set them. I bought a small blue topaz from the high country. Yeah, there we are. And then to the next attraction, which was Madu River Delta Safari. So my second safari in 1 week, second ever. This one is a maritime one or a water-based one anyway. Mangrove swamps, cormorants, and oh yes, the foot massage. Yes, I enjoyed that. Just nibble away at your feet. Then a turtle sanctuary. Blackfin sharks are not dangerous. Sri Lankan turtles, there are, I think, 5 different types. An albino turtle, a blowfish, Japanese call them fugu fish. Tiger fish. And then going to Bevis Bauer's house, brief, a curious sculpture. Unique place. The brief garden, with different prices for foreigners. There is the website as well. And yeah, all of this is, well, that's Japanese stone lantern, but a lot of it is inspired by Bevis Bauer. There's his house. Cascade reminiscent somehow of Chatsworth House in Derbyshire, England. That's a little bit larger than this, but outdoor porch, a frog mural, Chinese ornamental portal, Bauer family crest. Yeah, is there in that photograph? Outdoor bath. Geoffrey Bauer, the younger brother of Bevis. Bevis had many cars. Quite a rich man, I suppose. This was Faisal on the left talking to the person in charge of the house on the right. Mount Lavinia Hotel. Well, Sato stopped here, near Colombo, where I had tea and Ernest Sato had tiffin in the 19th century. I'm sure it wasn't this building when he was there, though. High-rise Colombo from the hotel lobby. You can see it quite close. Complimentary buffet dinner with tuna steak at the Marina Beach Hotel. The huge ethnic diversity of the buffet somehow echoed that of the country itself. Yeah, it's a country of diversity. Definitely. The Desarum House by Geoffrey Bauer. A lovely, elegant and stylish and quiet hotel, or guest house, I suppose. I was apparently the only guest. Very lovely. Courtyard. Very stylish indeed. I don't know what that is, but it's very decorative. This was my room. Enormous. And you can see the steps leading up to the what I call the minstrel's gallery. I don't know what it is really, but the upper level within the room. Not quite sure what it was used for, or should be used for. And the last day, Colombo to the airport. Breakfast at Geoffrey Bauer's guest house began, like all others, with fruit. Very civilized. Ceylon tea with no milk, sugar, or lemon, thank you. And an English breakfast. Rain when in the taxi on the way to the airport, but generally the weather was good apart from the day I left Colombo for Kandy. Billboard at the airport. On the runway about to leave Sri Lanka. Flights from Sri Lanka to Japan. Colombo to Singapore with Sri Lankan Airlines on September the 11th. It's not a bad lunch or whatever it was. Economy class meal. Where Ganesha dwells. I read an ebook while listening to Sri Lankan music. Approaching Singapore and touching down there. And here's the Singapore airport, which is probably one of the nicest in the world. It has look at the huge carpet area, extraordinary. My flight is JAL 36 to Tokyo Haneda at 21:50 from D36, gate D36. Luxury, yes indeed. Cactus garden on the roof of Terminal 1. Ponytail tree, Central America. Rhubarb tart. Rhubarb is not available in Japan, so I took advantage of that. Immigration, not for me this time. Heading to the gate, more lovely carpet. Singapore to Haneda, taking off from Singapore. With lots of bright lights of ships in the Straits. In-flight musical entertainment, and yeah, we're getting near to Japan now. And getting closer and closer. Mount Fuji appears. The perfect cone, as Ernest Sato once described it. The perfect cone of Mount Fuji. It's hard to describe it in any other way, really. Yeah, so there's a map of the plane coming into Haneda. Getting closer all the time. This is, well, I don't know, this is just finishing off the reel, as it were. Return to Japan. Haneda Domestic Lounge. And leaving Haneda, flying across Japan to Fukuoka. Arriving safely at Fukuoka. I'm almost finished now. A Hakata Ningyo doll proves that I am back in Fukuoka. And lo and behold, I'm back at the large mirror at Tabata Station in Kee-tah-kew-shoo. I think that was it. Oh, the souvenirs. Hand-carved mahogany dish bought at the Royal Botanic Gardens in Peradeniya in the government souvenir shop for 3,600 rupees, price not negotiable. Her books bought at the Museum of Maritime Archaeology in Galle. And souvenirs at Colombo, bought at Colombo Airport, fridge magnets, t-shirt design. And Faisal later sent me one of these fishermen. I never saw that on the trip, but it's a traditional way of fishing from a pole like that. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is that as regards the content of the book, the photographs anyway. So I hope that was of some interest with a commentary by me. Anyway, I will now stop and see you again in the next video. Thank you. Bye.